got, is it on?
Yes.
No, yes, no?
Yes, probably yes.
All right.
It is?
Got a red thing there.
Yeah, the red.
But it changes the shape in the red.
Yeah, all right.
It's numbers going.
See, it's incredible that we're talking about metaphysical things and we don't know if a video's on or off. It's like, maybe we should stay on the basics, but all right, so what happened then, who knows what happened, but all this different information came through the apparatus, and a train of circumstances got motivated that brought me to the first recovery meeting the next day. And I've been clean and sober for 28 years, yeah? So that promoted, that was an experience of surrender to me, more like a forced surrender. But I had surrendered many times in my life. I had surrendered to the police, I had surrendered to drugs, I had surrendered to women, I've surrendered to a lot of freaking things. But this surrender went into the innermost, whatever, not up in this horizontal like slipstream of selfing, but somewhere other, I don't know, it's not in the body obviously, but some aspect of what I am got hit with this little message, I'm fucked. And then from that point on, the whole thing's unraveled and played out of being unfucked for 28 years. Yeah? And then that urge, that was incredible, strong urge. It's the most strongest urge I could notice. I think the biggest urge is the selfing. The mental state's desire to become or be a self is the biggest urge of all. But it's very, very difficult to notice that. But this thing was the urge to get loaded, which was a reaction to that first urge, and I wanted to get out of self. Yeah, and the quickest method I found, and the one I was inclined to go towards, was drinking and using. Yeah, if I used shots of coke, I would seem to feel like, at least for that 5 minute of rushing, I was out of self, only to parachute back into it, needing to get loaded again. Because any addictions, any satisfying, any desire never produces contentment. It just there's more of what you want. You know? So that was a surrender, and now ever since then I can entertain surrender. Yeah, I know it. I got an intimate sense of it. So I've entertained surrender to the point where it's surrendered. Yeah, I'm very clear that I'm not managerial quality. I'm very clear that I cannot drink or use. Very, very clear. And it's a mute point. It's done. It's finito, finished. And that little nuclear reactor was removed, which I thought was totally impossible. Yeah, that urge, because I had an urge, or like in Ireland they call it the thirst, you know, for alcohol. But I had an urge to escape all the freaking time. Since I was young, I tried to do it through books at first, then I got into drugs and alcohol, then I got into spirituality, then I got back into drugs and alcohol. But all of them, a real primary drive in there was trying to get out of what I thought I was in. Yeah? Now to me, this is the dilemma of most trying to get out of what people think they're in. If they're not in what they're thinking they're in, then they're trying to get out of it may be a mistake. Yeah? If your diagnosis is incorrect, it's sort of like if you believe or you assume you have a cold, but you have, let's say, pneumonia or the flu, and you buy tons of cold medicine and you follow getting rid of a cold regimen, you'll probably, some of the symptoms will go away because they have it with the flu, but you're not going to get relief because you've mistaken it. You don't have a cold, you have the flu. So a lot of things that are going on are based on a premise or an assumption that we're somewhere or we're something that we may not be. And then everything is seen from there and collated based on there. Yeah, it's called self-centeredness. It's like a GPS system, basically. We're listening to a GPS system, mostly through the thoughts, and we basically follow its maps and its instructions, and we have to suffer the consequences of them as his action figure. So I wanted to go be happy or have a good time, and I'd end up in jail quite a lot, you know? And that was a very weird, conflicting experience, because what's wrong with wanting to be happy? Why does my wanting to be happy end me up in jail? You know what I mean? It's sort of because most people have a wanting to be happy. So these natural, whatever, impulses that seem to be pretty cool would always produce tons of conflict. Like, I saw alcohol and drugs as a medicine to my obsession with self, but the society saw it as not a medicine. And as soon as I drank or used, I found I had magnetic appeal to people in uniform. When I drank or used, people came into my life I didn't want in my life. And they started to actually, I had managed myself to such a point where I had to be managed by other people. So people entered my life and told me what to do for stretches of time, like 2 years and stuff like that. Yeah? That's a failed system I'm following. Yeah? I was at a whole meeting yesterday of recovery, and the person was talking about the root of the problem is fear. And fear and this and that, but it isn't fear in my view. It's self. Yeah. Like even in the book of recovery, it says, "Why are you in so much fear today? Isn't it because self-reliance has failed you?" Yeah. So obviously, we believe fear is the source of all this shit. But what's the source of fear? It's self. It's self. The feeling or sense of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. That's the petri dish that all the other shit grows out of. If you don't like all the other shit that's grown, across your garden, that has to be looked at. If the petri dish is moved, those things can't take root. If there's no one to have the fear is a valid emotion. What most people are suffering with is mental anxiety. It's mental anxiety that mimics the physical, logical effects of fear. So we're living in fear, but there's no apparent threat. I mean, really, we're being scared by ghosts all day. But the ghosts are of our own mental making. Yeah, and the haunted house isn't now, it's in the past and the future. Walk into the future with the mental state leading you. You could have cancer. You know what I mean? You're going to be destitute. You're never going to be loved again. It's unbelievable. It's sort of like a big boogeyman. One corner, you'll never be loved again. Ooh, or you're going to have cancer. I mean, it's like fuck. And it's like Halloween Eve every day. You're in the haunted house constantly, and the mental house is a haunted house. It's full of the ghost of what's not happening. It is. Most people here, if they're bummed out, it's not based on now, it's based on yesterday or tomorrow, constantly. You have to see the indications. I mean, the diagnosis is right in front of your face. And how could mental anxiety produce effects out of a field of what's not happening? It has to convince us because we're the only producer of effects. We are the reality. We give everything all the meaning it has. We're living life as if we're letting everything out there give us a meaning. Yeah? One person who can say, "Oh, I don't like you," it ruins your fucking day. Yeah? We're constantly trying to stabilize an image that we think other people have of us. You can never focus that picture, and it's never going to sustain and stay the same. You can hear 100 people say they like you, and then one person says they don't, and you're fucking, what are you obsessing over? It's the one person. Fuck the other 99. It's like, because you really believe they're right. There's such a corrosive thread in there called selfing. It's like Jesus says, you can't build your house on sand. You have to have a sound foundation. Our foundation isn't sound. We're relying on a mental state that's a failed system. That's why we're wrecks. So people aren't in fear. Fear isn't the source of your problem today. We're living in fucking Wonderland in Marin County. Jesus, what do you have? There'll be a long line at Starbucks. Is that your fear? Really? Is that like a threat to your fucking life? You know what I mean? The croissants I like, they may run out by now. I gotta get there soon. That's not fear. That's anxiety. Yeah? Oh, I'm so concerned. Am I going to buy that 4th house or the 5th house? I don't know yet. Yeah? This has gone way, way, way out there. We live as if we're in survival when it's actually, we're like living now. We may not be the best examples here right now, but we're living. So wouldn't it be nice to at least get yourself rebooted to that square zero instead of looking at the game of Monopoly from square 3 or square 12? You're not going to see the whole game from a single square. You got to see it from before the game, and you are before the game. Nothing precedes you. What's looking? There's nothing that's looking at what's looking. Seriously. There is nothing that's looking at what's looking. What's looking is what you and I are looking for. Yeah? There's nothing that's looking at that. This is it. This is the final frontier. And then out there, all there is a space. Yeah? We give everything all the meaning it has. That's not like a spiritual little, puff. It's a fact. This is a perceptual reality. You see it in your own day. If you're having a subjective experience, you're dreaming. Yeah? If you override what you're experiencing, if you go to one event, yet tons of people have a total experience, different experience of the same event, you're the dreaming. The event isn't dreaming you, you're dreaming the event. Yeah. Not as this is the dreamt. As Jesus says, we're in this world, but we're not of this world. It's a really beautiful statement, because to be in this world would to be a thing, to be in time, to be in separation. And if you look at, if we're not in, which means it's negating that idea, and we're of something else, right? So therefore we must not be of time, we must not be of things, we must not be of separation. Or he would have said, yeah, in and of are the exact same. No, he says, you're in this world seemingly, but you're not of it. And what I found I was most sorely missing was a little bit of the ofness in here. This is what allows this figure, this little story, to travel lighter here, is not what I get here, but what comes here through the of. Yeah. That demarcation line between of and in is imaginary. It's the idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity, a thing. And then that thing is crowned as not just another you, but a special you, because here we are all yous, and yet every one of us, all these yous that are sitting here, have crowned that you me. And now suddenly there's no one like you. No one's ever gone through what you've gone through. No one's felt what you felt. No one's ever thought what you thought. Yeah, it's insane. That was one of the biggest wake-ups I got in recovery. I came into recovery meetings, and I was sitting there with a thick shell of terminal uniqueness. No one thought like I did. No one ever felt like I felt. How could they ever understand? No one did the heinous things that I did. And then I'd listen to people share for a few months, and I realized two things. It could only be two conclusions. How did they get my thoughts, or they're not my thoughts?
Yeah.
Because everyone's thinking just like me.
Yeah.
And so how could they be mine if everyone has them? That's the relief. And then the problem from the relief. When you get relief from seeing thoughts as not yours, then you realize the unrelief was based on their being yours. You know the problem from the solution, so you get the relief. Jesus Christ, I'm traveling a lot lighter, and I'm not constantly displaced into yesterday and tomorrow anymore. I seem to be here, and you know what I realized? I could never not be anywhere else. Yeah? So this whole insane idea of trying to get into the moment is insanely built on the premise you could be out of a moment, which is impossible. You've never not been where you are. So you see the thoughts, suddenly these thoughts are driving me fucking crazy all day. Suddenly they stop driving you crazy. What's the difference? I was holding them as mine, and now I'm not holding them as mine. You're on to something. Why not let that, why let it just stay isolated there? Let it migrate. Let's say the feelings. Oh, wait a minute. So all the feelings, they're not my feelings. They're just feelings. Because a lot of people have the same feelings I have. How could they be mine? Yeah? Now I start traveling lighter with the same feelings I had before. So where's the culprit? Is it the feelings and the thoughts and the actions? Or is it the feeling or the sense before them all called mine? That somehow I have a lot to do with those thoughts. I'm the thinker of them. Or I have a lot to do with the feelings. I'm the feeler of them. Or I have a lot to do with all the actions. I'm the doer of them. That's the bonding point. It's right there. That's it. All the other stuff is used to bind you, the mind, the big M mind, to this idea of being a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. By what? By claiming the thoughts to imply you as the thinker. Using all the feelings to imply you as the feeler. Using any action that's ever come through you. Yeah? Even if you're sleepwalking, or even if you're in a blackout, or even if you've been totally loaded and you're totally powerless over drugs and alcohol, yet you still feel accountable and you still believe I did all that shit under the influence when you were actually being used as transportation. Something wanted to fucking express itself and it used you. Like a city share car. Alcoholism just decided I'll just jump into him. I've been using him for years, just drive around, blah, 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 blah. And then it's not far-fetched. You could do sociological studies. You could look at all the people in recovery in one area, and all different ethnicities and upbringings and intelligences and money levels, and many of them end up at 3 parking spaces in life: institutions, jails, and death. You got to see there's one driver driving the whole fleet. You're occupied, bro. Something may occupy you. How would I know? Well, are you anxious about what's not happening? That's a pretty good indication. Do you feel seemingly displaced from this moment and you're trying to get into it? That's a very good indication. That's a very good indication. So what would happen? It's not saying get rid of the thoughts or make the thoughts better and all that stuff. See, because that would be a thinker using thoughts to get out of thinking. Good luck. It's not going to happen. Or trying to be a doer and do yourself out of being the doer. You can't meditate yourself out of being the meditator. It's impossible because you've never been the meditator. It's using the meditation to imply you're the meditator. It's using the thoughts to imply you're the thinker. It's using the feelings to imply you're the feeler. It's using all the actions to imply you're the actor. See the heist and maybe it'll stop. Actions will happen, thoughts will happen, feelings will happen, just like they always do. But now you won't be invested in them. Yes? Your life will not be dictated by it, defined by them, or led by them. Your head will say turn left like 80 times a day and you'll keep going straight. Yeah, that thing that was sitting in the front, now in the way backseat of a big SUV, turn left! But you hear it because you're conscious, but you don't listen to it anymore. What's happening? Do you not listen to that? That means implies you're listening to something else. Let's say silence, a spirit. And now you're being directed instead of directing. Yes? Now you're being led instead of leading. And then you judge the tree by its fruits. If you seem to travel lighter on a stabilized level for a long period of time, you're onto something. You've actually discovered the problem by its absence finally. By having relief from it, you actually recognize the whole situation. You can't recognize the situation when it's active, yeah? It's sort of like gravity. You could study gravity all you fucking want. You could become a professor of gravity. You can have PhD of gravity studies, yeah? You could go to every cafe today, not one person's talking about the effects of gravity. They're saying it's the hill they climbed or the stairs they went up, but it's gravity, yes? It's producing all the effects. What would be the best way to know everything about gravity you need to know? Go into an anti-gravity chamber. As soon as you felt relief from gravity, you'd realize the influence of gravity. That's how you see it. Yeah. So what I am, what you are, is the seeing of what you're not right now. Yep. So from the seeing, that which we take to be us isn't taken to be us. That which is seemingly an undisputable fact is not a fact. It's actually not even there. It's a stream of activities that implies it's there, or presupposes it's there, or assumes it's there, or being to insinuate that it's there, yeah? And it's all it is a giant advertising campaign to convince what's seeing to take itself to be what's looking, which is this, yeah? That's all it's attempting to do, or who's looking. Yeah? That's when the dream sees as real can be, is when the reality believes the dream is as real can be. Yeah? That's what happens. You can see it. We have it in recovery. We say the acronym of fear is false evidence appearing real. Now, how could false evidence appear anything other than it's what it is, which is false evidence, yeah? False evidence appears real. For false evidence to appear real, it has to appear real to what's real, obviously, yeah? The false evidence, which is happening all day, can only appear real. I mean, I can really believe this is so. I can, because I am the reality. So the false evidence all day is that I'm a long-lasting, independent, separate entity called Paul. Once was cool, maybe not so cool anymore. All this and all that, yes? That's the false evidence. Now, it can appear real, and if it can appear real, it can also appear what? Not real. Yeah? Now, where is it appearing real or not real based? On it or on what's seeing it? So the false evidence, if it appears real, it has to appear real to somebody. Who's that somebody? Or what's that somebody? It's not just like false evidence, suddenly false evidence falls, and then one just appears real. It's like a batch. I have a batch of false evidence, but one appears real. It has to appear real to what's real. Yeah? If it appeared real to false evidence, it would be seen as false, because the realness of false evidence is false evidence. Yeah? So it has to appear real to what's real. This is what's happening all day. We're dreaming. The mental state is streaming a lot of false evidence based on the fact, which isn't a fact, that you're a body. Yeah? Streams it to who? Why are all the billboards pointing at? What is all that advertising? Doesn't it sound like the head's trying to convince you quite a lot? What is it trying to convince? Who's it wasting time talking to? Unless there's something there it needs. Yeah? The thoughts. Like when I was drinking, the thought was about getting the drugs. Yeah? Now you stop drinking, and there's a huge advertising by the parasite to convince you, to lead you to a point of fuck it, so that it's advertising of let's have a drink looks a little more palatable. Yeah? So it says, oh, everything sucks, and you're going to get fired, and she left you, and nothing's ever going to get better, I'll never be loved again. And then you're believing all this fucking false evidence, yeah? And once it appears real, it suddenly leads you to a point of, fuck it. Fuck it, man, I'm sick of this fucking place. I'm just going to get loaded. All right? Okay. So the false evidence, suddenly the mind buys it. It's appearing real, and it makes a whole lot of sense. I'm going to get loaded, yeah? Because I want to get relief from that, you know? I'm going to get relief from that. I'm going to get relief from that thing that's providing false evidence all day. But we're trying to get relief from it as that which it's been advertising. See, this is its double lock. You say, man, I'm telling you, the most authentic feeling I had when I was young was to get out of here, out of this situation. It made total sense to get loaded, or anything that could get me out of where I thought I was. Yeah? It made sense, yeah? But what happens is what happens is now you try to get out of that which is driving you crazy as that which is being used to drive you crazy. So now the getting out of it becomes another form of being driven crazy by it, yeah? So you feel like you're successful when you do the shot, and then another minute later there's a knock on the door and it's the police, yeah? So far, it doesn't, wait a minute, this didn't work. Like, oh yeah, I'm arrested. So this is what starts happening quite a lot. Yeah. So now you're in the double bind, which you don't see, which is you're identified as that which you'd like to get out of. So then you try to get out of self as a self. So this goes with you. It's so stubborn, a lot of people don't see it. So they feel like they're going to get out of something, and in non-duality it goes to such an absurd length that people are trying to be a non-self as a self. They're trying to be a conceptual idea they have of what it would be not to be me as the me they are. No. It can go to an extreme length. It really can. Because this thing is a very strong, because anything that arises, the mental state arises after it, but claims it's before it. So now it says, I am the creator of this. I am the thinker. I am the feeler. I am the doer. Yeah, this is what Ramana Maharshi says, and some other great masters. It says there's this presupposing of a non-existent thing that wants to get salvation for the non-existent thing. Period. Stop. Yeah? There is a presupposing. That's all selfing is. It's presupposing, it's insinuating, it's implying, it's talking as if it's assured of the fact of what it's trying to, manufacture. All of this stuff all day, and all it's doing is presupposing the existence of a non-existent thing. Yeah? Now this becomes you, seemingly. Yeah? And now you want to get salvation, or you want to get a good muffin, or you want to get laid, or you want to do something, but you want to do all those things for the non-existent thing. Now, in some respects, that works, getting laid and the muffin and stuff like that, but not to find what you are. It doesn't work there because you are already that. See, right now, maybe right here, you're not already laid, yeah? So it makes sense, I want to go out and get laid. Yeah, or you're not having a muffin right now, so all right, I'm going to go get a muffin. So I'm going to call up, make sure they have my favorite muffin, gluten-free, blueberry. Then, because I'm not driving, I've done that before, I've driven in a route, so I'm going to call and reserve that muffin, the biggest one, and then drive over there. Yeah, you can be successful at that, but you cannot apply that logic or that strategy to finding out what you are, because you are that. You are not a muffin. That's why you can look for a muffin. Right now, you are not being laid. That's why you can look to be laid. Yeah? But right now, you are what you're looking for. And right now, it's the same. You've always been, always was, always will be that which you're looking for. So it totally cuts all the mental strategy to find that which it wants, because what it is that it wants to find. And the beautiful point is, it's a waste of time trying to find it, because you are it. So you read these cryptic statements in old Zen and Ramana Maharshi, and they're there to save you some freaking time, which is, hey, you cannot use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You cannot use mind to get mind to seek mind. You can't use light to seek light. It doesn't matter how long you fucking work at it, it's probably not going to happen. He doesn't even use probably. That was a little bit of compassion coming out of me. It's not going to happen. Yeah? You see it? And the fact is, if you are the Buddha, why the hell would you be looking for the Buddha? Now, this is a situation that you talked about with the thing, but there can be a cultivation, seemingly, of the Buddha in time. It's not making more Buddha, but there's an allowance of the Buddha expression. Yeah? And maybe your life will dictate that, because that will become the primary drive of the action figure. but it's not producing any Buddhahood. It's not finding any Buddhahood. It is that, yeah? So maybe a nice, simple life would maybe let it to enunciate itself more clearly. Maybe this is how this will be driven by that impulse. Who knows, yeah? Maybe you'll sit in quiet for 10 years, maybe you won't. Maybe you'll go to 7-Eleven or go to a temple. It won't matter because you won't be going, see, it would be more valid to go to the 7-Eleven because you'll find what you're looking for in the 7-Eleven. You're not going to find what you're looking for in the temple. You may find a place to express what you are, but you're not going to find what you are. Much better to go to 7-Eleven, even though it's fucking stale shit. You'll at least get something. If you go look for yourself, you're not going to get anything. And that's the beautiful thing about spirituality is it will fail you. It will fail you, just like it says in the Course in Miracles. What can a failed system show you? It's failed. That's its great lesson. So you'll stop fucking applying it. Yeah? Now, I don't apply this to a latte. I don't sit and I'm a latte. I'm a latte. No, I like to have a latte, so I go to Chibo's, have a latte order. I'm done. Yeah? Completing mission. But we keep applying that strategy to us. And the only way it can make sense if you've taken yourself to be something that you're not. That's the only fucking way that logic could be logical. It's all based on an insane idea that you're a long-lasting, independent, separate entity that can get spiritual. How much of the pasting of spirituality has ever really lasted on you? You'd go 3 months retreat, takes 1 day at work to erase all of its effects. 1 day going back to your family. Or as soon as you see your girlfriend, the first day is good, the next night, same old, same old. So what's the story? I'll go to a 6-month retreat. All right, so 6 months. Maybe you'll get 3 days. 3 or 4 days. So you got 6 months, 4 days. It's 12 a year, a week. Something's off there. You're trying to build a house against the Colorado River current. You know what I mean? It's too strong. You might as well submit and go with the flow.
So what did you get that made you feel like you were okay then for those few days?
That time, no, that okayness was something that wasn't on the level of okay and not okay.
Yeah.
It was just like I've had 2 of them. That one with recovery was like the urge was removed, and then when I heard this message, one of the times I was at the talk, it was like I got it like an unspoken yes. It was sort of like knowing before knowing, and then that was done then. Now it plays itself out, but the fact is that drive to do the same kind of application of failed logic on spirituality was dismissed.
Are you asking about the retreat analogy though?
Yeah.
Oh, the retreat analogy. Did I feel okay for a few days?
Well, no, you're actually saying people feel okay for a few days.
Yeah.
For a few days, or an hour, or whatever.
Yeah.
So what, are they really feeling okay?
Yeah, their conditions and their mental condition, emotional, physical, maybe circumstantial is all right. But the fact is, we're up against the greatest opponent at all when we're trying to stabilize basically inherently unstable conditions, which is time. Yeah? So maybe after that 2 weeks on that Sunday before I leave the retreat, I feel fucking exquisite. I'd be eating, vegan gourmet meals every day, no one yelling at me, no calls from anyone I owe money to, don't know what's happening out there, which is good. No one's yapping at me, it's a silent retreat. Everything's great at 9 o'clock, but then 9:02 shows up, and 9:05, and things change, yes? And so if your condition is based on other conditions, it's a very, 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 very unsure methodology, yes? You've got to see, maybe there's something that's always so going on while all this activity is going on. And maybe if you rest there, yes, that which you're hoping outside conditions would produce, you'd find is inherently you. Yeah?
Or it's just another hit.
Or if it's just enough. To me, there are different times of addiction. So one's like a longer, took a couple of months, one faster, but it's all time. Yeah? But it's the same drive. We're trying to get out of something that we're not in. See, that's the dilemma. If you've become identified as what you're not, your basic premise, where you're starting from, is you are a fact. And therefore, if that fact isn't working, you want to get out of it. But if you're trying to get out of something that you were never in, will getting out of it work? If you attempt to keep getting out of what you're not in, you're going to get the same results. You may get out for a little while or feel like you're out, but it won't stabilize because it's based on a false premise. You're not in that which you want to get out of. This is the whole thing of negation or non-duality. It's not questioning the methodology to get out, it's questioning, are you in? If you're not in, the whole premise, the whole interest in all the activities is based on they may help me get out of what I think I'm in. And of course, the in is always preceded by think. That's always what I think I'm in. Yeah? And then on that premise, most of us are moving from that's a fact and I want to change that fact. But if it's not a fact, what happens? All your efforts will reinforce the idea that it's a fact. Ramana Maharshi says it in the next statement after the one I read earlier, which is, when your spiritual practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing, how can they destroy the non-existent thing? And basically, if you were a lawyer, you could rest your case and just walk out of the courtroom. Because there you go. If your practices themselves are reinforcing the non-existent thing, yeah, then how can they destroy it? So you're wanting to destroy the non-existent thing gives life to the non-existent thing. Now just times that hundreds and hundreds of times, and that's basically what's happening all day. We're trying to get out of what we can't be in, and we're trying to get into what we can't be out. Literally, we're trying to get into what we can't be out of, what we are, and we're trying to get out of what we can't be in, self. And when we're trying to get out of self, then we think, man, getting into what I am would be great, because that would mean I'd be out of self. That doesn't work. Yeah? Because now, what? You see it? If you switch, it makes total sense. It's just like a statement St. Francis is reported to have said. You can hear it one way, and that is, you and I are looking for what's looking. That sounds like a spiritual, like, fucking egg hunt, yeah? Yeah, that's what I was doing in a lot of ways. So that was the story. You and I'm looking for what's looking. I've heard about what's looking. It's empty, it's brilliant, it's void. You think it's in a location. The void. I got to get a ticket to the void, you know, all this, and I'm going there, and I have a lot of friends I meet along the way, you know, we try to inspire us. Yes, you and I are we're looking for what's looking. What's looking is that which we love to be, but obviously we seemingly not, because I wouldn't be fucking looking for it, but we don't see that point, all right? But St. Francis goes, let's just erase, because this could spread from fucking lifetimes. You could be looking for what's looking forever. And you'll never find it. So he just switches it around and says, what's looking is what you're looking for. Just cuts the whole thing. Don't you love that? To me, that pause is it. You stop all the mental activity and then you sense yourself. The pause comes over you and that's what you are. One is you and I looking for what's looking. Let's go, come on. And there'd be people along the way selling you maps to get to what's looking faster, and selling you books to describe how you have to be when you get to what's looking, and all the do's and don'ts that you have to live by the time you get to what's looking. Yeah, but what's looking is what you're looking for. Oh! Suddenly, the objectification gets dismissed, and then the subjectivity is felt. I am that which I'm looking for. You see it?
So say you got that, a little bit, at least. At least a sense of that.
Yeah.
All that spiritual practice and stuff is just building more of the same thing. But you got it. You got it a little bit at least. So practice can help still, right? If you got that a little.
I don't know. I don't
Yeah.
practice, so. I would say satsang is good. Meetings like this,
Yeah.
repetition, yes, I do. This is all I do to maintain the spiritual condition. Because I am a spirit, how could I maintain one? The best way to maintain one was quit the maintenance disposition and just be it. If I'm maintaining something, it implies I don't have it or something. It's weird, eh? Being is much different than knowing and maintaining and being vigilant and fucking focused and intentioned. Being is much more relaxed and very sloppy, and it's very inclusive. Everything and anything goes. Yeah. And now you have an inherent contentment that you used to idolize as a goal that you would finally arrive at through all your efforts and endeavors. You have what you were looking for. You're looking from it now, yeah? And I'll tell you, all the names that replicated this feeling that you really just wanted contentment and satisfaction and peace, enlightenment and awakening, you lose total interest in it all, because now you have the meat of what you expected that to deliver. You are it. You don't have it. You are that, yeah? The mind, it has a quality of peace. See, when we say in recovery, it's beautiful. I've been on this little word trick lately. But in recovery, it says bondage of self. So if you see that, like in a lot of ways, something comes from, is of, yeah? So this duck is of Afghanistan or something, yes? So Afghanistan is how it is where the duck comes from, yes? So you would, let's say, Stephen of York, yeah? Or Mary of, Trent, yeah? So Mary came from Trent. So bondage of self is exactly that. Bondage is of self. When self is in place, then there's bondage, a possibility. And if you look at the dictionary and look at the word self, just look it up, and especially in an old dictionary, it's cool. There's a hyphen, and they have about 160 attributes that come after self. It doesn't say destruction self, it says self-destruction. See? So the destruction is of self.
Ah.
The emulations is of self. The hatred is of self. It's not hating the self, it's self-hatred. Yes? So the self is of, all this is being produced in this Petri dish of selfing. Because there isn't a Petri dish called self, because there is no self. It's these activities that are being used by the mental state to imply that you're a something. Yeah? That activity, all that grows all of this shit. And we want to chop the shit, but we want the hyphen to still be there, and we want self to be encased and solid and as a fact. We just like to have just self-love and self-esteem and this, and then chop the 100 other ones that we don't like. Emulation, no, I don't want that. Destruction, no. Loathing, no. Hatred, no. You know what I mean? Self-obsession, no. Self-involvement, no. I want to chop all of them up, but you don't want to look at self because you're looking from it. How's it worked? Doesn't the shit that you thought you were over come back in time? Oh, I thought I was done with that. It's not. You may have thought you were done with it. It's not done with you. You're like a fertile field growing this shit all fucking day. I think I had my last resentment. Oh, I beg to differ. Just watch. Just go in traffic right now. You'll probably have a resentment. When am I going to be done with this? Exactly. You don't see. You're sporting them. They're popping right out of you all day. So why don't, really, if you looked at it, all those things, I don't like the idea of emulation or destruction or loathing or hate. Why don't just look at this? Don't go there. That's like the fucking. That's like the sleight of hand. Go to self. Go to it. Just like in recovery, we say, "Why are you in so much fear today?" Isn't it because self-reliance has failed you? The root of fear is self. Not actually the root of mental anxiety is self. You're afraid you're not going to get what you want and lose what you have. Constantly. And really, the deepest anxiety is it knows it's not so. But it's attempting to appear to be so all day to what is so. It's sort of like a mouse that's been in a world of mouse, you know, walking around like it's a lion and getting away with it. And now the mouse is trying to get away with it in front of a lion. It's got this great aversion, but it's very afraid the lion's going to go, what? We're that lion. We're being presented as a mouse all day. And it's about fucking time we can see through it. You know, how many times have you danced to that tune of anxiety bringing you to your knees? Depending on others for what is essentially your own nature, security, peace, stuff like that. Of course everyone's going to fail us. They have to, for us to get back to what's actually so. If they succeeded, it would just keep on keeping on more and more. A failed system does one incredible thing. It tells you it's failed. It's the greatest news. You can be stubborn about that and keep having to have it fail, or you can wake up and go, hey, all right, I'm ready. I realize I'm on a dead horse. I hate to get off it because the saddle weight costs about $1,000, and I like the whip, but you're fucking not going anywhere. So, I mean, I look like I'm riding, but you're not fucking riding. And maybe you want to live for your image instead of your ass, but I'm in your spiritual ass. I'd rather save my spiritual ass, which needs no saving than my mental image. So get off the fucking dead horse, and then there's a live one right there. And you'll feel the difference. Knowing and being definitely have much different, like, let's say, wave-like sense, yeah? And you are like a Geiger counter. You pick up, yeah, the action figure. It has a reflective ability. There's consciousness moving through it. It can reflect what's happening on other levels than just what it sees, hears, feels, tastes, touch. You can sense the vibratoriness of mental focus, right? You know, driven by time, seeking, which is what it's always doing. It's like interest that's focused is seeking. It's looking for, yeah? Once it focuses on what it's desiring or wanting it to avoid, it misses everything else. Being is much more open and dispersed. It's like sunlight. If sunlight got focused on any one of us today, it would burn you to a crisp in a second. But because it's dispersed, everyone gets it, yeah? So mind is like that. Mind isn't focused and concentrated. It's dispersed. It's spacious, yeah? It's brilliant. Yeah. It's demonstrating all day in our lives. We're just not seeing it because we're thinking too much. And why we believe we're thinking too much is because we believe we're the thinker of it. And that's the biggest thought that's going unnoticed, is the thought that you're the thinker. That's it. All you need to go is to the one little link that affects all the other links. Yeah? Just like, you know, Dracula will go on vampire hunts and kill other vampires, yeah? So you want to get to Dracula and then you kill the nest, so to speak. So the point is am I the thinker? Fuck about all the other thoughts, yeah? Because the thinker is what conveys the meaning to all the other thoughts. The thoughts are not conveying a meaning to the thinker. The thinker injects the thoughts to present to us, the mind, to convince us of what? That we're a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. It can never be so, but it can seem to be so. It can appear to be true to us. That's called being asleep to being awake here, yeah? If it doesn't, and now when you start seeing false evidence, that's like seemingly being awake to being awake. The fact is, we're all awake. We can seem to be asleep to that fact, or we can seem to be awake to that fact. That's basically what's on offer. Really. I find the latter is, you know, seeming to be awake to it's a lot easier than seeming to be asleep to it, because it's very difficult. It's sort of like trying to fall asleep in the midday sun with the shades up and you don't have an eye thing. I mean, it's really brilliant all day a lot of the time. It's very difficult for this fucking advertisement to keep the audience secure in the story because all day there are tons of holes where the brilliance just leaks out. It does, doesn't it? So it's like constantly, it's like this infinite transparent, opaque windshield that is trying to put like flyers on all day about me. You know, it just, but there's always, and then light's always coming out. It cannot, it's fucking yeoman's work. That's why we're so fucking exhausted before we even get up. We're huffing and puffing, blowing up this imaginary plastic doll of us. And it has a lot of leaks. And you can't, you just have to keep, that's why the thinking is relentless. It has to keep blowing the bubble up. And that's what the thinking is being used for, to blow the bubble up that seems to appear to be you, like a body. That's what it does all day. That's what it does a lot at night. That's why people can't go to sleep. Thinking isn't like anything else. When you run, you get to a point where you stop running. Yeah? Yeah, you do. Or an action you did 20 years ago is seen, it happened 20 years ago. Yeah? Or if I'm stretching or reaching, I only can reach so many times. I stop reaching, okay, you know? But the thinking, when does the thinking reach its limit? When do you stop? Oh, I've thought enough about that. No, you haven't. And you're up at 3 in the morning. And then shit that never even happened, you're going over like a forensic unit in the past. My whole life, and with this incredible hypothesis, if I wouldn't have done that, my life wouldn't have been great. But the fact is, you did do that. Just like this. If I hadn't been run over by the car, I would have been a pro surfer. But I got run over by the car. You can't just take away that fact out of the dream. Oh, if I would have only gotten married, if I only was a woman, I would have given birth to 3 kids. But you're not a woman. You know. But if this is what it does. It presupposes and just goes off. It's what we call in recovery. It's playing God all day. It's playing God and it only has one devotee in its kingdom, which is you. And you call the God me. That's what you call the God, is me. Yeah. It's a trip, man. But you will know the problem from the relief. That's the only real way. And then it's like reverse engineering. Then you know why the relief wasn't available, because certain things seem to be in place. When those are not in place, it's available. When they're in place, it's not available. That's what happens. Yeah. You see it. You see it very clearly. Because nothing precedes you. The mental state has never been before you. It's after. You are here when the mental state arises. And you are here when the mental state departs. There's nothing prior to you that's watching you. Nothing. You are what's looking. The seeker is the sought. The Buddha doesn't need to search for the Buddha. It is the Buddha. Yeah. And today you'll have a nicer day because you won't be as interested in having a great day. You'll be fine with what shows up because you'll be there. You'll be what you've been looking for. Seriously. Wherever you go is pretty cool because you're there.
There you are.
Exactly. Why would you want someone who's exactly what you are to bring what you are to what you are? I mean, it's great to have fun, but don't if someone's, I saw this guy I knew in Australia. He had this lady, girlfriend, and he, very pretty girl, and I go there to give talks in Perth, Western Australia. But he didn't pay much attention to her when I was around. Yeah, he was just hanging out, and she was really cool. And then she decided to leave him. This is amazing. As he calls me, I was in America at the time. She leaves him, and just when she leaves him, he realizes she was the source of all his happiness. He didn't realize it when she was there. But now, as soon as she's not going to be there, she suddenly becomes the source of all his happiness. So he's going to try to kill himself that night because he believed false evidence appearing real. Yeah? Totally false evidence, wasn't it? I mean, if it was the source of all your happiness, you had it for quite a while. You didn't seem to be partaking much of it. But now suddenly it leaves and then it dawns on you. No, there's something suspicious there. You know what I mean? And it's false evidence appearing real. So what is that reality it appears real to? It's not some other reality other than you. Is the thought system broadcasting to anyone else other than you right now? This one in your own little porno theater? It's like, remember when we were younger, we're never gonna fucking pay, we're never going to a movie with commercials. They never, just set, previews. Now they got tons of commercials, you're just sitting there. That's like the selfie. Yeah? You're sitting there and it's convincing you. Yeah? See, honey. It's convincing you, yeah? Seemingly. It cannot change the fact you are what you are, but you can seem to forget it. And seem is the important word. It can appear to be true or false to you, because the you they're talking to in that statement is what you are. Everything is appearing to be true or false to us. We're the reality. We're the only reality. We can believe this to be so, and then do you think there's really an object called an illusion? It's an activity. Either we're spinning an illusion or we're not. There is no illusion. It's not like being imposed on us. We're the generator of it. It's happening from us. It's how we perceive things. That's how they appear. That's why it doesn't work, blaming everything. This is it. You're dreaming it, man. You're dreaming the whole enchilada right now. And it's all dreaming. There's no dream. Nothing ever happened. It's just happening. The only reality is us. And when something's happening and we see it as happening to us, it can seem as real can be. When it's happening and it doesn't seem to be happening to us, we can travel lighter through it. Does it get lighter? No. We're the light bearer. Yeah? We're the bringer of the light. We're not the gatherer of the light. We're the bringer of the light. The light isn't lost. We're just taking a pair of glasses to be our eyes so we never feel our face. Because we're sick and tired of how we see, so what we do is go to some other spiritual optometrist and get a new way of looking, and we put it on the other glasses, and they correct some of the mistakes of the first pair, but then we got to get a third pair because I need turbo glasses. I want turbo Buddhism, and I want some Tantra Buddhism in there too, but I mean the sexual kind, not the fucking metaphysical kind. And then I need another one here, yeah? But why not question the first glasses? Put your hand up there. If you feel them as something other than you, what would your next possibility be? I can remove them. That's the whole point. If you see yourself as the action figure, you cannot remove yourself from it. You've got to plan all your journeys with it. But if you see yourself as not that, the next possibility is I can be free from that. It's not the body, it's what the body is being used for here. It's not meant to be the center of the universe. It's more like a utilitarian vehicle. You travel through time with it, yeah? But it's not meant to be fucking you. It's not meant to be all that is ever thought about. Look at how many thoughts go through our heads. Can you imagine if like 90% of them, like millions and millions, and they're all about you? You know what that's like? That's way too much interest and attention on a body. That's why people look at them. Look at what's happening with people. They won't accept the way they look. They change and they won't accept fucking anything. See, this was always going to be an urban renewal project as long as it was me. There would be fault found in it. I can get better. Of course I can. I've got many limitations. Therefore, I'm just going to keep getting better and better and better. That goes on and on and on. When I saw it not to be me, the Urban Renewal Project was canceled, and the fucking best thing for the body was that. The body just had a hallelujah fucking far out. I'm not all that is meant to be thought about. I'm not the center of the universe. I can just fart now and do this now. And oh yeah, are you unable to commit or unwilling? Fuck it, I'm not committing. I don't know if I'm unable, but I'm not showing up, so let's fucking cancel this situation. You know, it became much easier. When some place got hot, I left. I didn't read any esoteric meaning into it. No, I've got to stay and get boiled until something breaks. Fuck that. This thing is already what it is. Yeah. The more, see, the disinterest in this world is an interest in that. And the interest is hard to recognize because it's not focused and intended. It's dispersed. So you're walking around and you're available to what happens. Yeah? You don't live on memories anymore because you haven't missed a fucking thing. You haven't missed a fucking thing. I don't take pictures. I have no memories. It all gets erased every day because I haven't been gypped. I've been there every fucking second, and it's not a yeoman heroic thing. It's the basic condition. You're awake to being awake. That means you're available and present, and when you're available and present, what's going to happen? Find out. I saw it one time I was in Burma in '95. There was a wonderful world called Bagan. It's probably gotten pretty popular now. But it was a place on the Irrawaddy River, a giant deserted plain, and they had 5,000 temple sites. This crazy civilization for 300 years, from 900 AD to 1200 AD, all they did was build fucking Buddhist temples. That's their whole society. And they had one Hindu temple because they stole a Hindu king and they used him as an architect, so they built a temple for him to live in. That was the only reason. But all the other temples were Buddha temples. So you'd go there and you rent a bicycle and you'd ride around these dirt paths and just go in there. You had nice murals and the different architecture, and they're very well preserved because it's very dry and arid. Yeah, it was great. It's a lovely place to stay. And in the morning you have banana pancakes. That's the only place to eat and just hang out. And then one day we're all there, and it would be a big thing. You'd watch the sun go down, and you could see all the spires. It was really cool. Sit on a nice pagoda. So me and a couple people were doing that, and then you see this giant trail of dust coming from afar, and it's this huge bus. It pulls right up to the temple ground, yeah. And then suddenly the door opens, and all these tourists come out. They walk right up to the temple, turn around. The person gets out, takes a couple pictures of them, they get back in, and then they drive. Now they have evidence they were at that temple, but were they at the fucking temple? They just got out, picture, they had evidence. They can show you, I was at the, but were they? It's different. Nostalgia is great. It's great to entertain it. But it's great not to have any of it either. To live a life of just like a page, just a blank page, and maybe one day there'll only be a few scribbles on it. Some days it may be busy, yeah? But every day is exactly the same because the page is the interest. The page, all the different writings, all the different dates are on the same page, same paper, yeah? It has a different quality, and it's got something that's reliable. It's always available at all times, right where we are, with no requirement necessary. It's an incredibly beautiful quality because you can find rest there, yeah, with all the comings and goings. And the book has no real interest. The only way it would have interest if there was an author page and your name would be on it. But your name's not on it, yeah? You're the page, you're the screen the movie's happening on, you're the page, it's all getting written over. And when do you fucking sit and just stare at a blank page? Very rarely. When do we clap for the screen in a movie? Very rarely. It's that flavor, it's a different flavor. Everything goes on as it's going on, but there's a whole sense. You have a sense of the space of everything instead of the detailed perceptual data of the things that appeared in it, yeah? It's like you take your eye off the ball and you see the whole field, so to speak. Don't worry, when the ball's thrown at you, your mitt will go up. You don't have to be so fucking concerned. You'll have the ability to deal with what shows up in this life. But why would you want to beckon from ghosts and phantoms from what's not happening all day? How are you going to shoo off an imaginary thing? How are you going to get out of an imaginary problem? Like you hear that directly, that siren, right? Direct. Did you think I want to hear a siren? No. It's on you before your fucking mental state knows it. The whole conscious contact is on you before the mental state notices it. The mental state comes after the consciousness in contact and implies it's before. That's its little heist. It tells a story as if it's the one who's conscious when it is just something else that's appearing in consciousness. It says, oh no, I'm going to do a move. I'm going to claim to be that which I'm appearing in. And in that, I forget what I'm appearing in and I become the main appearance. Yes, the movie's all about me now. How's it been working, man? Fuck. You know how many beautiful women, how their life, their best flowering is maybe 8 years in time, 12 years? You know how all the shit you've ever learned, it's added up to nothing? Yeah. The only thing that's been truly available and reliable is exactly what we are at all times. And there's such an underappreciation of it. We love to make it if it was a spiritual spectacle. If I, as this, could change into that, I'd love it. I would. Because the emphasis would be on me the whole fucking time. But no, this is like ordinary dog shit awareness. You're just awake to being awake. You see what comes after because you're seeing from before. You're not seeing from what's after because that's a form of looking called self-centeredness, which is blind to what's seeing. When we keep applying that form of looking to find what's seeing, we're going to be lost for fucking ever. So, there you have it. Oh, I forgot to record this. I got 1 second. Oh, we recorded this.
Oh, good.
I got 1 second on this. That's how long it took? That was fucking great.